And we're back. Welcome to case study number 27 of this series, so brilliantly titled Kirk's 40 Case Study Closings. I'm your host, Ryan Kirk, and these case studies range from vacant lots to custom luxury homes and total $2,042,081.71 in profits and equity without having to personally go see the property on some. With no cash, no credit of my own, it varies, and I'll explain. And I do it all with Flip Logic and 1-888 cash offer. Now let's get into number 27 of the 40 case studies. And that brings us to 5403 West 119th Street in Inglewood, California. Look at this property. I don't know if you've ever seen floors so disintegrated, but I actually went and walked this property, and you could see right through the floorboard, obviously, and can see the dirt right under the foundation because this is a raised foundation. So this thing didn't even have a back door. The floors are disintegrated. You can't even walk through the kitchen. I mean, the place is a complete mess. I mean, it's in complete shambles. Right up to where on the left, you walk up to the front door, right before you step up off the grade there and up on that first step onto the porch. The foundation had this huge crack in it, like the San Andreas Fault. I mean, it was this huge crack, and it was split in two. I mean, this place was nasty, and the walls were completely cracked because the foundation was so bad. So this place was, this is as bad as it gets. It was off market. Again, another probate. What's great about this probate, no court confirmation. Most of the probates I've done requires no court confirmation, and that's really the best, because that means when the offer is signed by the seller, you're not going to be subject to overbids in court, which means you really don't have it locked in, because anybody can walk into the court, make a bid 5% over, and if they do, then they get the deal, unless you want to increase your bid then and there in court to be the highest bidder. So no court confirmation is key with probates. Other than that, they're a piece of cake. Lead origin, probate attorney. Again, same probate attorney we worked with before. He referred us this property. This was the last property in the portfolio of this estate, and they were wanting to liquidate it. Obviously, the place is nasty, so awful condition, tear down or rebuild to 1,600 square feet, 3.2 to match, the comps in that neighborhood. So that's how we reverse engineered it. We reverse engineered it off a 1,600 square foot 3.2 home and did the numbers that way. This was like a 2.1, and it was very small. I want to say this was under 1,000 square feet. Inheritance, that was the seller's motivation, just liquidate. So the ARV came out to 670. So it's easy. You just want to look for the new comps or new. It doesn't actually have to be new construction. It could just be what are the larger comps in the area that you could reverse engineer this from. So this could be an add-on, or you could reverse engineer it from completely new construction comps. Take again, go 10 years back to prior. Is there anything that's been torn down and built brand new, and you can reverse engineer it from that? But we just reverse engineered it from a comp that wasn't new construction. It was just a 1,600 square foot 3.2. So we based it off that. So that gave it a 670 ARV, and the repairs came out to about 200,000, which was 125 a square foot, and that was I didn't break it down line item here, but that was because in Flip Logic you can take the existing and give it a price per square foot. So like on the existing on this is awful, right? So you'd want to go $40 a square foot on the existing, and then whatever you're adding on. So let's say you're adding on, call it 800 square feet. So that would be new square footage, 800 square feet. And then you would give that a price per square foot. So rule of thumb, like you'll see in Flip Logic, for adding on square footage is $100 a foot. So for the 800 square feet, you'd make that $100 a square foot for the 800 square feet. And let's say there was 800 existing, you'd put $40 a square foot for that. And then it will calculate your total repair and construction cost, which in this case came out to $200,000 and a blended price per square foot of $125 a square foot. We got the purchase price down to $300. I believe they wanted $350 or maybe $325. We got them down to $300. We wanted to know what's the best price they'll take. And they said make an offer. We wanted it at $300. We put in the offer at $300. We got the acceptance at $300. The referee handling this transaction, because in a probate they'll appoint a referee, and what he had to do was order a new appraisal because they had appraised the property. Well, it was definitely over 10% of that, so they probably appraised it around $350. And if you're going to make an offer less than 10% or 10% below what they have it currently appraised at, then they have to order a new appraisal. So something to keep in mind. If you don't want to have to go through that process, then just go 10% below of the current ask or appraised value that they've appointed, and they don't have to reorder the appraisal, and you don't have to get delayed. But in this case, we went to 300, and we got it. We then did a marketing blast. You always check the comps again. Were those flips? If so, get a hold of the flipper investor who bought and flipped that property. Call him and pitch him on this one, because they will most likely buy this property since it's in the same area that they just flipped in. But we did a marketing blast to our existing list, and then also you do an instant cash buyer search in Flip Logic, and you can pull up those cash buyers in the area with keywords and the location, and then do a marketing blast to them as well. So this investor came off our marketing blast. We asked for $365 and got it. So our profit on this little house, this junky, you would never think you could make this much money off this house. Our profit was $65,000 on it. So, and that was just by putting it under contract, and we had to use a local probate agreement because it was a probate sale. So we used a probate purchase and sale agreement and put it under contract, and then we just did a simple assignment to our investor. He paid cash, so the vesting amended from us to our investor. Our $65,000 assignment fee went on the buyer's side of the settlement statement, and escrow closed, and we got our $65,000. And this all happened through the probate court. So how cool is that, right? And you may be asking yourself, wow, you know, are you really able to make $65,000 on a house like this? Why would the seller let that happen? Why would the court let that happen? Well, the court and the seller, in any transaction, those settlement statements are separated. You have the seller's settlement statement and costs, and then you have the buyer's settlement statement. So your assignment fee is always going to go on the buyer's settlement statement. So the seller is never going to see how much you're making on the transaction. The buyer eventually will. You may be thinking, gosh, why would the buyer allow you to make that much money on this type of sale? Well, one, because he had a big profit in it. So he was, $365 was a great price for him on this transaction. And number two, you don't let the buyer see how much you're making until after they've wired a non-refundable deposit. So they can have a copy of the purchase agreement, but always redact the purchase price on the contract and keep that confidential. If they ask to see it or want to know, just let them know that's confidential, and the reason why you do that is to keep it based on the merits of the transaction, which is, ARV, repair costs, and your profit, Mr. Buyer, because we don't want, frankly, we don't want you to leverage that against us. And I always put it to where I don't want to distract you from the merits of the deal. So that's confidential. And if they say, well, we're going to find out anyways, and you're going to say, you're exactly right. Whether it's you or another buyer, you will find out exactly how much it is after you wire your deposit, and the deal's yours. So that handles that objection every time. They wire their non-refundable deposit. They get the settlement statement, and when they see that you either did really well or you didn't do that well, kudos to you. But again, bottom line is the deal is worth it at 365 in this case, and that's always the case. You're only going to profit as much as you can, within the guidelines of the formulas and the pro forma and the ROI that makes sense for that investor and the cash buyer to move forward and close on it. They wouldn't move forward on it if it wasn't a good deal. You wouldn't price it where you priced it if it wasn't a good deal. So that's how that works. So that was a killer return on this deal. And I think that's it. We didn't have to use any of our own cash, no cash, not even $1, because our investor, cash buyer, wired their deposit before ours was ever due. So again, you get 3 business days. If you change that to 5 business days, it gives you plenty of time to get an investor over there, get them interested, get them to sign an assignment and wire a non-refundable deposit. And you wouldn't have had to go see this property personally, because there's no seller or owner occupant at the property. So investors can go based on the lockbox, and you don't have to worry about them fraternizing with the seller discussing terms. So that's the deal. So it was very cool sharing this one with you. I hope it was helpful. And again, statistically, only 10% of YouTube videos are watched until the end. So if you're in that 10%, use a hustler, persistent, determined to succeed, and I wish you much success. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to working.